Well, good evening. I apologize for my throat. We were traveling through a little different part of the world and got something I did not look for. So, but it's okay. It was worse on Sunday. It's a little better today. But I'm happy to be here, and I cannot tell you a whole ton of it, but your title is God and the Universe. As it stands right now, our knowledge or our science about universe does definitely reinforce a personal belief in a creator that no one was able to defeat yet. All cosmologies, regardless of how we take, if taken to distant or taken to future infinity, must end with God. That is where we stand right now with our universe. In early 2021, another telescope will go into solar orbit, but synchronized with Earth, and that's designed to really collect information about universe. And whether we will be surprised or not, we'll wait and see. But really, many people still tend to be confused about universe. When we in science say universe in cosmology, we mean time, because time was created from nothing in the beginning. That's beginning of time. But we cannot discuss time. We really don't know what time is. What is it? We do not know any particle that mediates time. So we talk about things that are in time, things that fill the universe in time. So that's what we discuss. And see, what does it tell us? Well, it tells us that that time came into existence from nothing, which means in science it started in another physics. It didn't start in our physics. So, therefore, if it didn't start in our physics, we cannot discuss time. We discuss arrangement in the universe. But the problem, universe is not complicated. It may be complex, but it is not complicated. And there's a big difference between being complex and being complicated. People tend to complicate things, but Creator made it simple, but complex. So it all depends how we see, how we read, and how we think. That's what problem is. There is no problem in cosmology. There is no problem in science concerning science and God. Problem is in how people see. The mystery concerning the universe is not mystery about God, but it shows a lack of our understanding things. So that's, we always, if there is something I don't understand, I have to look at me and say, hey, you better learn something more. If I don't know enough, I better learn something more. But what we have problem that many people do not consider, that in the past, in a history, people did not know what we know today about universe. In last 30 years, we have probably learned close to 50 times more than humankind knew in its history. So that's and it is going to be coming in at an alarming rate. We are now doubling our knowledge about anything every 15 months. They are projecting that soon we will be doubling our knowledge every hour. So, we just have to keep up with it. That's all. But in the past, until very recent, speaking historically, people looked at planet Earth as a flat disk around, floating on subterranean water. That was common belief throughout, regardless, everybody who considered it believed that. Above earth was this heaven of birds, heaven of stars, and then there was this kind of place where stars are attached to. Above that was also an ocean of water, just like down here. Same was up there. And on that water rested heaven, what's called heaven, even in the Bible. And in that heaven was God. And that heaven was tied to earth. And earth was the only populated place outside heaven. That is what people believed until 300 or so years ago. And then they came to say, when they learned that earth is orbiting sun and sun is not orbiting earth, they came to believe that our galaxy is our universe. And that we as sinners, religious people, or Christians particularly, believe that we as sinners were quarantined in our solar system. Well, that too is no longer so. We now know more than that. We are not quarantined in anything. Entire universe of 13.82 billion light years in radius is our home. There is no one out there, no intelligent life other than us. The law of intelligence forbids two intelligences to reside in the same universe. That is what we know now. But some people still don't accept it. But that is so. Now, we are no longer in center of the universe. It used to be, even in the last century, people believed that we are in the center, but we are not. Some people claim that we are in a privileged spot, but we are not. And no matter where in our universe you go, it would appear that you are in the center and that you are privileged. But it is not that way. Entire universe is just one single entity, and no matter where we go, what we do, it's always same. Things will be as far this way, same distance. They would not vary. Even if we would get to the very edge of our universe as we see it now, its instantaneous edge, it still would be so far this way and exactly distance that way and in all directions. That is what we have as our universe. So I have a few pointers that say, okay, if we think this way, we will not. For those who want to study, thank you, who want to study, space and cosmology. But if that is not your line, don't worry about it. I would not really. We all do. I love universe, but some people really don't. Well, it is not. It's a little difficult. It's God in physics. When we talk about God in physics, we simply talk about God the Creator. God the Savior cannot be explained neither by science, theology, or philosophy. And the reason for it is that what happened on the cross at Golgotha during those 3 hours of darkness is apart from every law that governs in our universe. So therefore, we as humans cannot understand that fully. But we know enough to know what it is for us. This is also a conclusion of a science that God first established a set of laws. And based on those laws, he created universe. And God will not violate, he will not suspend, and he will not manipulate those laws under any circumstance. That we must believe, that what he established is fixed. It's just how we then approach that. all possible knowledge, not just about our universe, not just about us, but absolutely all possible knowledge went through mind of God before he began creating anything. So, what you and I will think 10 years from now, God knew before he created us. So that is absolute being. An absolute being cannot change. He cannot alter in any way possible. He can become, he can take form of every created intelligence and yet not be neither one of them at the very same time. That is the nature of the absolute. So that, so if we try to, get in there to explain, it just doesn't fit. You have to, it has to be accepted by faith. There is no really for us to say about absolute, this is it, because it is not. No matter what we say, if we were to take vocabulary of every created intelligence put together, there would not be enough words to describe the absolute being. So, our limited language of human beings is far, far from able to say much about it. So that's we are. And also we must understand that creation of universe and creation of matter in the universe are separate events. Creation of this, what we say is preparing this planet for a carbon-based intelligent life is not in time same as creation of the universe. Because matter is not created from nothing. It is created from something. It's created from energy that the expansion of the universe releases. And when that energy slows down to below speed of light, it becomes the atom of hydrogen. And then hydrogens fuse in stars into helium, and then heavier stars fuse helium into heavier and heavier elements. So we have all the elements we have now. So that will matter, and everything else we see here. Time is from nothing, or we call space-time because we really don't know what is space either. So science has merged those two words into one word, space-time, until we learn more and we get better theories. The better theory is in development as we speak, because our knowledge of universe is already exceeding 4 standard deviations from the mean, and when it gets to 6, theory is invalid. So they are preparing better theory because our knowledge is growing too fast. The creation of okay, I already said 2 things I didn't read. The 6-day creation in quantum cosmology, we speak quantum cosmology, or really it is anthropic cosmological principles. Anthropic cosmological principles cannot be verified experimentally because we would have to have a laboratory as larger than our universe. So we cannot do that. But it does explain our universe as it is, right? Our theory, which governs now in universe, called quantum theory, does have unprecedented implications about God. And the answer for those, they have to go to anthropic principles and read Apostle Paul. So if you want to know something really, very, very carefully read Paul. Paul didn't know anything about quantum. He didn't know that quantum cosmology or quantum physics exists, but his logic and quantum logic are just like this. No difference. So I do not think that was an accident. And also, we as a carbon intelligent life are a very unique order of intelligence. There is nowhere in God's kingdom another intelligence like us. And we live in a very unique universe that is designed specifically for us and no one else. And we are designed for this universe and no other. Our mind and our universe are inextricably tied together. If we do not exist, universe couldn't exist. If this universe doesn't exist, we could not exist. That is how close it is. And it is very, very critical. So that's what they refer as special design. The other thing is in Christianity, especially in Judaism, we read, it says in the beginning that God created man in his own image. So many people in Christianity and Judaism tend to view God in human image. But that should never be done. We are in God's image, but he is not in our image. So, we had, there is in science called charge parity violation. And if you go, it's a little complicated to read, but if you like to read that, just Google that, you will see. If I have an atom like this, and I have 2 orbits of electrons around atom, that's standard atoms, they have more than 2. If the electron in higher orbit has higher potential energy than electron in lower orbit because it has higher distance from the center. Now, if I take that electron from higher orbit and push it down into lower orbit, it has to release that energy, releases energy in the form of photon, light. That's photon. Now, if I take same electron and push it back where it was, I do not gain photon. I gain more than 1 photon. So when God called humankind, gave us information, we cannot reverse that information, say that is the way it is in heaven, because even Jesus said, no one has ever ascended to heaven to see how it is. So we cannot. What is given to us is given to us, and it cannot go anywhere else. It's just for us. So we have to work with that way, because it's impossible for us to know the absolute unless we become gods. But what are chances of that? I don't know. But it is not so easy. What others we had since 1980s till 2007, I believe 2007 was the last experiment. Science conducted what we call reality experiments. Reality experiments, humans set it up, and then humans have to simply remove themselves completely from it and let it go and let nature decide whether and when will something happen. And when it happens, we simply have data what happened. And that showed that the entire universe that we see today, 13.82 billion light years in radius, is a single entity. So if I do this, entire universe felt it at that very instant, no passage of time. So that is experimentally verified to 99.9% accuracy. So, we really cannot argue that and humans were not in the experiment. Nature does that. What that experiment also showed is that entire humankind, absolutely every being ever lived, is living, and will live, we all have one and the same intelligence. My intelligence, your intelligence, intelligence of every being is absolutely same. And it cannot increase, decrease, or be altered. It is what it is. What we have difference in is knowledge and experience. some of us learn more and experience more, some will learn less and experience less, but intelligence is always the same. Knowledge is not, but so we cannot really call some people more intelligent and some less intelligent. It is wrong in our universe. It's a violation of the law in our universe to do so. I know I was speaking at one university, and I said that, and one professor came, literally forced, it was a female, pushed her finger like this into me, says, "You're telling me that I and that retarded person are same intelligence?" I said, "Identical." She just could not take that. I was absolutely, but it is. But there's no way to argue, because people didn't do it. They just let it go, and whatever came out, what came out, it was surprising to everybody. So, what can we do? The other thing is, with human beings, often the end justifies the means, but with God it does not. And the laws in our universe do not allow such attitude that end justifies the means. That is against every law that governs here, law of intelligence specifically, and quantum law. Now, law of intelligence governs all intelligence, not just us. And, we know enough as it relates to us, but we don't know how it relates to other intelligences. The moral law in our universe is single sentence. You are free to do as you please, but you cannot do it at someone else's expense or something else. You must have a common good in mind when you do something or write something or talk something. So those are the rules. And if we follow those rules, I call it, those are my rules. You will not find it anywhere in science. I invented this, so, blame me if it's something wrong. Don't blame science. But if you do follow, approximately what I said, you will not have any conflict when you study science. Science, mathematics is a pure science. Quantum physics, quantum cosmology are sciences that is science. Now they are separate. That talk about the whole universe, from subatomic level to larger scales. So that all other sciences that we discuss, like anything it's related, it's localized because it's related to us physically. But this is related to us intellectually, not only physically. The rest of the things that we deal with are strictly physically related to us. So, we have to have that in mind. Now, I was told that questions and answers sort of tend to be more desired, so I'll just open now to questions. I love questions and answers too, so it's okay.